Ready to our regular council meeting for Monday, October 21st. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We do have all council members in attendance this evening. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of the First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Please stand if you're able for our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras sait porter l'épée, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
There are no closed meeting reports tonight. Any declarations of conflicts of interest from members of council this evening? Seeing none, if you find yourself in conflict tonight, please let us know. I need a mover and a seconder to adopt the published agenda as amended to add Sabrina DeMarco, the Executive Director of Windsor Essex Small Business and Entrepreneurship Center. And there is also a notice of motion by Councillor Kim Verbeek. Mover and a seconder for this amended agenda. Councillor Mady, Councillor Allard, any questions? All in favor, and that is carried. I just want to take 1 second and announce that on this Wednesday, we're going to start celebrating water and wastewater and stormwater technology. So OMA, the Ontario Municipal Water Association, which our town is a member on and I have a board on, we're going to declare October 23rd as wastewater, stormwater operator appreciation day, which is kind of exciting if you like water, all things water, which we all drink water. So it should be really exciting. So stay tuned on that, and we're going to build some momentum. This year is the first annual wastewater, stormwater operator day. So stay tuned. All right, regular council meeting minutes for October 7th. I need a mover and a seconder to adopt those as circulated. Moved by Deputy Mayor, supported by Councillor McGuire-Blaise. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, and that is carried. Special council meeting minutes of Monday, August 12th, 2024, needing a mover and a seconder to adopt those minutes as circulated. Moved by Councillor Guerin, supported by Councillor Hammond. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor. 7.3 special council meeting minutes for the 16th of September on our organizational review, that the minutes be adopted as circulated, needing a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Verbeek, supported by Councillor Allard. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, and that is carried. Public presentations. Welcome. We have Joe, how do I pronounce it? Gonzalez, the interim CEO and Vice President of Invest, Attract, and Strategies Initiatives from Invest Windsor Essex. So Joe, if you want to welcome yourself back there to the delegations, and Sabrina, if you want to go back there with them. Thank you for coming and addressing council.
Excellent. Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. I just want to start by thanking Mayor Bondi and Deputy Mayor Shelby for the invitation here today. Greatly appreciated. I also want to give a big shout out to this council and to the administration for the incredible work that you folks have done in the economic vitality for this region and for your communities. You just drive down the bypass there, and I do that quite often, go see my parents in Leamington, and it's just incredible progress. So congratulations on that. Invest Windsor Essex, we're the regional economic body for this region, and we're funded pretty well 50-50 by the City of Windsor and by the County of Essex. We have four main departments: our Investment Attraction Department, our Small Business and Entrepreneurship that's led by Sabrina DeMarco, and also our Business Retention Expansion and our Automobility Center. Investment Attraction, which I am the Vice President and currently the interim CEO, and hopefully somebody will take that job by the end of December so I can go back to doing my work. There's two people in our department, myself and Nak Yu. So what we do is any foreign direct investment coming in, we help with the site selection part of it. As well, we go onto the world and try to figure out what companies are looking to locate here in the Windsor-Essex region. If we can go to the slide, next slide. One more. Perfect. So over the last 2 years, we have had $5.7 billion in investment in this region, roughly around 5,000 direct jobs and roughly about 15,000 indirect jobs. We also are working right now on a project of about 1.6 billion in investment, which will create an additional 1,500 jobs. And those announcements will be coming in over the next several months. So the Conference Board of Canada just recently came out and said that the Windsor-Essex region will lead the entire country by GDP growth per capita. The entire country. That has never happened in our history. And that goes to the good work of what's happening here in the county, in the city, and the good folks and employees at Invest Windsor-Essex. When you look at it, when you get all these jobs coming, I know not all of them have come into the county, but all these people coming in will build homes in our communities, whether it's Essex, Leamington, wherever it may be. They will invest in our retail stores. They will sign up their children for baseball, hockey, and other things. And that's all part of the economic vitality that we're looking to spur here in this region. If you look at the population increase, in 2023, there was 32,000 new people that came into this region. That's more than the last 15 years combined. And why are they coming? Jobs, opportunities. So now I'd like to pass it on to Sabrina, who is our Executive Director of our Small Business and Entrepreneurship. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. So the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Center is somewhat of a unique department within Invest Windsor-Essex. We were founded in 1992 as a signature program of the Government of Ontario. So it was established as a partnership between Invest Windsor-Essex and the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, with the sole purpose of being that go-to resource for anyone that has an idea, is thinking about starting a small business, has questions, is looking for guidance, as well as existing business owners who are looking, again, for support to tap into resources, programming, training, that sort of thing. So our mandate is to work with, next slide, please. Our mandate is pretty simple. We work with early stage startups from 0 to 5 years, typically, with fewer than 10 employees. And we work across entrepreneurs, business owners, self-employed individuals who are running businesses across all sectors of the economy. So if you look at your Main Street, a lot of your Main Street businesses are the types of businesses we would support. But we also support food and beverage manufacturers, of course, small scale manufacturing, healthcare service providers, professional service providers, that type of thing. So some of the core services that we do provide are to be that resource. So anybody can approach us with an idea, and we would walk them through the fundamental stages of forming a business, how to structure a business, walking them through available sources of funding, government grants, tax incentives. A big part of what we do is helping entrepreneurs develop a business plan. so that we can ensure that they can ensure that they're investing in a solid business that will grow and sustain in the community. The last thing we want is for a small business to go to the bank, get a loan, register their business, open up their doors, and shutter within 6 months. Again, a lot of what we do is ensuring that businesses have that solid foundation so they can sustain and grow. So we have a team of 7 that work with clients one-on-one. We have 2 offices to serve entrepreneurs in our community. The main office, of course, being in downtown Windsor, but the second office being right here in the town of Essex at 39 Main Street East, Baystone East. We are co-located with the Community Futures of Essex County. It's a great collaborative partnership. If you're familiar with that organization, they provide loans to small businesses up to $250,000, where we provide the training, the mentorship, the business advisory services. So it's a really nice complement. We've been there since 2012, actually, and it's going quite well. And we're excited to mention that we are looking to grow that hub and incorporate a representative of the National Research Council to be part of that hub so they can assist small and medium-sized businesses with their R&D needs. So we think that'll be a nice complement to what we're already doing there. And then we do run some specific micro grant programs that are funded by the province of Ontario. So quickly, we run a program called Summer Starter Company, and that provides new and existing small businesses an opportunity to receive training, mentorship, and a grant of up to $5,000. So we typically award up to 17 grants per year. And a fun program that we're running for the last 20 years is called Summer Company. This is a fun program. We spend a lot of times going out, making presentations to youth groups, going into the high schools across the region, speaking to students about their future, about the local economy, about starting their own business. And then we entice them to actually develop an idea and a business plan and run their own summer businesses, and we have a lot of success. They receive $3,000 training and mentorship. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So this gives you a snapshot of some of our metrics to date and what we achieved last year within the town of Essex here. So with the support that we provided, we helped 13 businesses expand. We helped in the formation of 52 jobs as a result. We helped establish 10 business startups right here in the town. And we provided 83 one-on-one business consultations to entrepreneurs, small business owners. To date this year, we've assisted with 5 expansions, 26 new jobs, 12 business startups, and have provided 64 business consultations. Throughout the year, we do provide a lot of workshops and seminars. Last year alone, we provided 84. More and more, we're taking the show on the road. So we're moving our seminars across various municipalities. This year, we ran a networking event in Harrow. We drew together existing business owners for some peer-to-peer networking at a local pub. And we provided a couple workshops and seminars as well. And then the next slide, please. This just gives you a snapshot of the businesses and activities that we conducted right here in the town. For the last couple of years, we've been organizing the annual BIA walk within the town. So you'll see pictures of last year's walk during the construction season. We do that in partnership with the Essex Community Futures Development Corporation. We make the economic development officer in town aware, and we work with a local BIA rep just to make sure that businesses are aware of the services that they can tap into, to let them know that we're here to support them. We let them know about current grants and other opportunities. And we also want to learn from them, understand how things are going, their pain points, and continue working with them that way. We have another walk scheduled this year for November 7th as well in the afternoon. I'm going to pass it back over to Joe.
Thank you, Sabrina. I noticed that, so the 5 minutes is for both of us, not for each, I take it, correct? So, what's that? Oh, 5 each. Oh,
10?
yes.
So
Oh,
if
wonderful.
you need a few, just let us know.
No, we're good. Yeah, and so I just want to go back to the investment attraction. So over the last 2 years, so what we do when leads come in, we send out a questionnaire to get full details on infrastructure needs, size of land, that type of stuff. So, and then we find all the properties in the Windsor-Essex region that sort of fit that thing. Just want to let you know that we've brought in close to $600 million in leads that have actually looked at sites here in Essex. We are actually currently working on one that's about 300,000 square feet, and I've been working with Nelson on that one. So that's ongoing, yeah, so we'll just keep you up to date as that evolves. But some of the other leads that we brought, it really comes down to sort of aligning, you know, somebody might need X amount of power, or they might need X amount of water and wastewater. And timing is a big issue here. A lot of these companies, back in the day, you'd get 2 years of leeway to put something together. I've had companies come in where they're doing a $4 billion investment and they want to make a site decision within 4 to 5 months. It is that quick, right? So it's so important to have that shovel-ready land earmarked, make sure that the people that own the land are willing to sell it and all that. And, you know, I know that there's employment lands that are being developed here, which I think that's a great idea. We've been working with some of the developers across the road there on the bypass as well, quite frequently, and on some of the existing projects. So I just want to let you know that that's how we do it. We don't decide for the client where they go. We provide them all the information and they do the site visits, and then they let us know which ones are the sites that they want to go to. Good. If we can go to the next slide. Keep going. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, our investment, we have our retention department that works with.
Pardon me for 1 sec there, Joe. Just a motion from council to give him another 3 minutes. Councilor McGuire Blaze, Councilor
Okay.
Verbeek, all in favor?
Perfect.
Carried. Okay, continue.
I'll go through this as fast as I can. So our business, so we hired a talent attraction person. Now, I think all of you remember the days of when unemployment was at 20% plus, youth unemployment at 30% plus. I mean, many of us were impacted by those things, right? My own family was impacted by those days. So now we have a talent attraction person going all over North America. They were just in Calgary promoting the jobs here. They used to come here and advertise to take away our talent. Now we're bringing some of that talent back. We've been in Halifax, Toronto, all over the place, and we're going to continue to do that. And because of your support, we were able to hire Jessica, she's done an amazing job. We actually even take local companies with us to some of these job fairs to help them backfill their needs. You can go to the next one as well. Actually, I would just go right to the next one there. So one of the biggest issues that's going to face us all is the productivity gap between Canada and the US. It's 40% now. The only thing keeping us in it's the largest gap in our history. The only thing keeping us in the game right now is the exchange rate, which is at 38%. The Americans are so much more adept to implementing technologies. Artificial intelligence will change every company over the next 4 years. And the companies that don't adapt it will start to fall behind. So for us, we realize that this is coming around the corner, and we're looking to implement an AI person that can help our companies adapt these technologies at different phases. And we're working with the federal government to obtain a grant of $5 million where we can actually have private sector companies do an evaluation for these companies paid by the federal government, provide a return on investment in a stage of how they can implement it in agriculture, advanced manufacturing, pharmaceutical, even in small businesses, right? So this is some of the stuff that we're doing. And we actually asked the city of Windsor and the county of Essex for an additional roughly $125,000 to go towards this, because it is so crucial that 85% of everything we manufacture goes to the US market. If we are not competitive, we're going to wake up one day and realize that they're making products cheaper over there and more cost effective. So that's one of the big issues that I think that we've taken that we've identified as being crucial. We're doing all this wonderful stuff, but if we lose track of that side, it's going to come back to hurt us. So we're going to be talking to the county about this, and Mayor Bondi, yeah, hopefully you can push for us. Really, and I know that there's financial constraints. I get that, but this is so important to make sure that we know what's coming, and it will come, and how we face it will determine how the future looks. And now, anybody has any questions, I'd be open to.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Well, I love what you're doing with the students. They're our future entrepreneurs. We That's a fantastic program to do that, get them in the process to think about starting a business and running it. That's fantastic. It's just getting their minds going in that direction.
Exactly.
Secondly, I just wonder, how often would we find that 39 Maidstone open? What are the hours that we could, is there hours we could promote to let people know?
Yeah, so the office is, it is a full office. It's open Monday through Friday. We have dedicated office hours, part-time. And by appointment request as well. But typically, anytime Thursdays, 8:30 to 4:30, we're there. Yeah.
Lastly, just wondering if, I'm not sure if this is even appropriate question, but maybe I'll ask it anyways. When you're bringing investors into the area, is there anything that stands out that would make that we need to look at to help them to choose Essex as opposed to our neighbors around? I mean, is there?
Now, the one that we're currently working on for the 300,000 square feet, I mean, Essex is in the running for that one. I mean, it's just in the running. I find that the biggest thing is being shovel ready, right? It's one thing to say we have X amount of land for employment, but is archaeological done? I mean, if you run into an archaeological issue, by the time you're done, that could be a year and a half, right? Species, right? What power is available there, right? Because you could say you have this, but do you have 3 megawatts, 5? What if some company needs 20? Then it becomes transmission. Do you have a transmission line running by there? Natural gas, same thing, right? So having a shovel-ready land, and then there's programs available through the government that actually help landowners get to that stage, right? Which we could work with them on that. To me, that is the most critical. Things are moving so fast nowadays. Like I was saying before, it was a year and a half and you'd have all the time in the world. Now they come down 2 to 3 months and you're competing against a variety, Michigan, Ohio. They have shovel-ready land. They're giving it for free. And how do you become competitive doing that, right? But we have a lot of assets in Canada in general that actually make our value proposition great, that if you have the land, you can sort of offset that other stuff. But having that shovel-ready land, not just employment land, but shovel-ready, and encouraging the owners of that land to start doing that now, because they'll make a lot more money by doing that. Yeah.
And then let me know, council members, if you want to speak.
Thank you, and through your worship. Again, I gotta echo the student involvement is wonderful. I took part of a program when I was younger called Junior Achievement. Yeah, and you know, I actually ended up meeting my wife there, and it formed a huge impact on my life. So wonderful, wonderful work. If I could plant a little seed, it would be that maybe as you're looking for some of that AI funding, if you can incorporate it with our young ones to get them up to speed quicker. And maybe if our community could be a good fit for doing some of the training in the AI agricultural sector, to let them know what's happening with that and how fast that's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for the great work too, guys.
Thank
Thank you through the chair. I don't have very many comments other than to thank the Small Business Center. I know I'm the council member for the BIA, and I know a lot of the members from the BIA have used you. And I think one of your partners came out to our last mix and mingle and chatted with everybody, the one that you have a co-partnership with in the building. That was really, really great. So I would welcome you to come out to our next mix and mingle too, and just talk about what you can offer to those businesses. Our mix and mingles we get a lot of businesses who aren't really engaged, and it's a way for us to start the engagement. So that would be a really great place for you. So I would like to invite you to that. And then as for the investment attraction, I would really like to encourage council and administration to do what we need to do to get shovels in the ground. So that way, you know, when an opportunity does come, we are one of the ones that they're looking at, because I think Essex is an ideal place for us to start building our industrial. And I would like to see that promoted, and I would like to see more happen there. So anything that we need to do to get shovels in the ground and be shovel ready, let me know. I'll push for it.
Absolutely. And, you know, work with us. Like, there's only 2 people in my department, myself and Na, right? And we try to be everything to everyone, but sometimes we can't. but if you reach out to us, like Gloria reached out to us and Nelson, we met together, we looked at the employment land, and, tossed some ideas around. We're here to help. If you need something, I will make myself available to assist, no matter what time it takes, right? So reach out to us too, and we'll work together because I'm a county boy. I want to see us continue to grow.
So I want to thank you for coming. And if you're a member of the public watching, the addendum item is under our is on our website. It's just not in our regular agenda. And the addendum item is their presentation. So if you're looking for it. And thank you for coming. And thank you for coming to Essex First. Because I'm super competitive.
Yeah, you're good.
So
Yeah.
I was like, we gotta be on top of this. Yeah, it's coming all together, like the official plan, employment lands, like we want to have those hard talks about more industrial land. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the presentation be received. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Mady, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Just turn off the mic there, please, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. Office of the CAO 2024-11, conference listing. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the CAO report be received for information. This is just an annual report on our conferences, on which ones we can take. Councillor McGuire Blaze and Councillor Guerin, any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Planning 2024-27, heritage designation. And we'll go to our manager of planning, Rita Jabor.
Mayor. On August 12, 2024, Council directed administration through resolution to issue a notice of intention to designate 10 properties within the town of Essex that were found to be of significant cultural heritage value or interest. Following that resolution, administration issued notice of the intention to designate in the Essex Free Press and the Harrow News, and individual notices were also served on the owners of the properties and the Ontario Heritage Trust, as is required under the Ontario Heritage Act. We also published notice in the Town of Essex website. All notices were delivered by registered mail, so we could determine who received the notice and who didn't. 9 notices were confirmed as received. The one notice that was returned as unclaimed was for the Gilgale Cemetery off County Road 11. Planning also obtained telephone numbers for some of the property owners. We were able to obtain 5. We attempted a call with all 5 of them and were able to communicate with 3. And we were also contacted by phone, letter, or email upon receipt of the notice by 2 of the property owners. So in total, we were able to reach 5 out of the 10 property owners. In response to that notice of intention to designate, we did receive notices of objection. And under the Ontario Heritage Act, Council must consider those notices of objection before they decide whether to designate a property or not. So of the 10, we received 3 notices of objection. The first being for 102 Talbot Street South, which is a Victorian house. And the reason for the objection are related to recognition and respect for Indigenous rights, the potential impact on property rights and future development, whether the property truly meets the criteria for designation, and the conflict with future municipal planning goals or infrastructure development. We did forward this notice of objection to the Essex Municipal Heritage Committee for consideration at the regular meeting on Thursday, September 26th. The Heritage Committee considered the notice and continues to recommend that the lands in the building be designated under the Ontario Heritage Act, as they believe it still meets the criteria under Ontario regulation for designation. Administration is recommending for this property that a decision be deferred until such time it is circulated to the local First Nations for comments. And administration will also review the evaluation used in supporting the notice to ensure it continues to meet the minimum of 2 criteria, and will consult with the property owner regarding their concerns. The second notice of objection was received for 400 County Road 13, which is referred to as the Clee Farm. And that notice of objection is attached to that report, as is for 102 Talbot Street. The reasons for the objection for the Clee Farm have been identified as the following. The house has been in the family since it was built, and it'll continue to be for the foreseeable future. The property has been maintained for generations and will continue to be maintained without the involvement of a designation. Noted in the description of the heritage attributes was the large white veranda porch and decorative pillars, but that porch was added on the house in the 1990s, and the house didn't have a front porch before that. Noted in the description of the heritage attributes are all existing window openings and shutters. The appellant noted that the majority of the windows are only a few years old and are covered in storm windows that were installed in the 1970s. And the appellant also noted that in early 2000, a large renovation was made to the house, and roughly 1/3 of the exterior of the building was cement cinder blocks and had a flat roof. So during the renovation, the brick was reclaimed from the interior wall, and they were able to complete the renovation and improve the historical look around the entire addition of the house. So in summary, the notice of objection does raise concerns with some of the accuracies in the statement of cultural heritage value. The notice wasn't considered by the Essex Municipal Heritage Committee because it was actually received after the last committee meeting. So administration for this designation is recommending that decision be deferred until administration has had an opportunity to review the new information concerning the heritage attributes, meet with the property owners, and consult with the Heritage Committee and determine whether it still warrants designation or not. The third notice of objection was received for the Ferris Cemetery, which is located at 0 Ferris Road. And again, a copy of that notice of objection is attached to your report. The main concerns brought forward by that property owner was that they felt that there wasn't any consultations with the property owners in advance of sending the notice. They felt that the statement of cultural heritage value or interest is deficient and doesn't comply with the town's obligations under the Heritage Act. And they felt that the town failed to properly consider the negative impacts of the proposed designation on the continuing care of the property, cemetery, and current and future farming activities of the property. So again, the notice wasn't considered by the Municipal Heritage Committee because it was actually received after the September 26th meeting date. So it will be considered at a future meeting. Some items we do want to bring up is that the notice of objection doesn't indicate any potential concerns, inaccuracies, or discrepancies with the statement of cultural heritage value. The statement does include a detailed description of how the cemeteries meets the prescribed criteria for designation. The statement was delivered by registered mail and the property owner did receive it. There's no obligation under the Ontario Heritage Act to consult with a property owner prior to issuing a notice of intention to designate, although, it is best practice. But the owners were formally informed when a notice of intention to designate was issued, and they exercised their right under the Ontario Heritage Act to issue that notice of objection. There is no obligation under the Ontario Heritage Act to provide the owners with the research and the documentary evidence necessary to support the statement. However, administration will provide the owners with the documentary evidence as background information to support that statement regardless. And of course, the town's responsibility in determining whether a property should be designated under the Ontario Heritage Act is related to the criteria. Does the property meet 2 of the criteria for being considered a cultural heritage value? And the town has done that. It's not the town's responsibility to consider the potential negative impacts of that designation, but we certainly do take the time to take the call from the applicant and address their concerns. And we did do that in this situation. We did speak to the applicant as well as their solicitor and discuss the potential impacts this may have on their farming activities. Regardless, administration is requesting that the designation of the Ferris Cemetery be deferred until we have had the time to consult with the Heritage Committee, until we have had the time to provide the owners of the property with the supplementary evidence, as well as meet with them again to discuss their concerns. I'm going to have Ms. Lozon pull up a very short presentation, which just summarizes the 7 properties now that are up for designation. These properties, again, we didn't receive any objections to. A lot of the property owners actually supported the designations for the following. So the first being 94 Talbot Street South and 98 Talbot Street South. They are located right next to each other, actually, just across the street, and they're being considered for their design and physical value, their historical and associative value, and their contextual value. Next slide, please. The next being 21 King Street East, which is the Robert Heaton Building in Harrow, being considered for its design and physical value, as well as its contextual value. It's very supportive of the character of Harrow's commercial district. Next slide, please. 22 King Street West, which is the former IOOF building located right at the corner. This is one of the buildings where the property owner was enthusiastic about the designation being considered for its historical, associative value, and contextual value. 314 Queen Street, which is the former station master's house in Harrow, being considered for its design and physical value and contextual value. And we were able to discuss the designation with this particular property owner who also had no concerns. Next slide, please. Zero County Road 11, which is the Gilgal Cemetery, being considered for its historical associative value and its contextual value as the only remaining part of the former settlement of Gilgal. Next slide, please. 9567 County Road 11, which is the St. Clement's Church, being considered for its design and physical value, its historical and associative value, and its contextual value in McGregor. And I do want to add here that initially the diocese wanted to take the time to consider the designation and determine whether they wanted to submit a notice of objection. And we did follow up with the diocese, and through their solicitor, they informed us that they were not issuing a notice of objection. Next slide, please. Is that it? Okay, that's it. Thank you. In terms of next steps, we will be issuing another letter that we will be sending by registered mail to those 7 property owners, informing them if council decides tonight that their property has been designated, and a 30-day appeal period will take effect. So if they do change their mind and they decide that they want to appeal it, it goes to the Ontario Land Tribunal versus council. After that 30-day appeal period is over, it is officially registered on title. The remaining 4 properties, so the 3 that we just identified as having a notice of objection, plus there is 1 remaining cemetery on the Heritage Register that is listed that we still need to do some documentary research on. That'll be brought forward at a future council meeting. The 3 need to be considered before December 12th because of a 4-month period that we need to observe. And that's it. Thank you.
A detailed explanation. You've been really busy. Our Heritage Committee has been really busy, so that's great. We'll get a motion on the floor and then I'll open it up to comments. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the heritage designation for various properties within the town of Essex be received, and that the planning report be received, and that bylaw 2375, bylaw 2376, bylaw 2378, bylaw 2379, bylaw 2380, bylaw 2381, and bylaw 2383, being bylaws to designate certain properties within the town of Essex under Part 3 of the Ontario Heritage Act, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed on October 21st. Needing a mover and a seconder for that, and moved by Councillor Verbeek and Councillor Mady. Comments to the motion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Planning Report 2024-25 zoning bylaw amendment. Mr. Ward, you want to walk us through this one?
Again. On Monday, September 23rd, Council held a statutory public meeting to consider a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment for the commercial lands and the commercial building located at 127 Telvis Street North, which is located at the corner of Telvis Street North and Medora Avenue in Essex Center. And at that public meeting, there were a number of comments that were raised by council. Before I get to those comments, which are summarized in a table in the report, I want to add that the purpose of the proposal was to create 5 more dwelling units on the ground level, and it would create a total of 9 dwelling units in that building. So it would continue to be used for commercial and residential purposes, but because the zoning bylaw doesn't allow dwelling units on the ground level, and because the zoning bylaw does not allow dwelling units that don't have parking spaces or amenity spaces, they had to come to council for a zoning bylaw amendment because there was also exemptions to the parking requirements and the amenity space requirements. So in terms of the comments that we received, the first set of comments really had to do with the parking issue because the 5 dwelling units would not have access to on-site parking. So there were comments received from council with regards to whether there was any overnight parking on the main street during winter months. And we can confirm, we've looked at the parking bylaw, that there are parking restrictions on Elvis Street from Medora Avenue to Bryan Street from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. But there are no parking restrictions on Medora Avenue East. So technically they could park on Medora. Another comment was whether adding 5 units will exacerbate the parking situation for existing businesses and whether signage could be placed on Talbot Street that states that overnight parking is prohibited or that there is a time limit for on-street parking. So Infrastructure Services is reviewing the current street signage available on Talbot Street and will determine if signage in accordance with the parking bylaw is required. As noted at the public meeting by the applicant's consultant, there will be a clause in the tenant agreement that will stipulate that on-site parking is not available. So tenants will know before they rent the units that they cannot, they don't have access to on-site parking. And lastly, in response to the question about exacerbating any parking situation for existing businesses, this property is located in an area of the commercial district that's actually within the vicinity of a lot of businesses that have their own on-site parking, which isn't typical for general commercial districts. So for example, 148, 147, 128, 120, 110, and 103 Talbot Street North are all within the vicinity of the subject lands, and they all have their own on-site parking areas dedicated for their own patrons. There was also comments regarding the loss of commercial space due to the conversion of some ground level commercial space into residential space. So our response is that viable commercial units fronting Talbot Street North will not be impacted. So there will still be commercial uses in the building and they will front Talbot Street North, which is the intention of the official plan and the zoning bylaw. The town of Essex, and this was done through a growth management study actually conducted by the county of Essex, was found to have 13.2 hectares of vacant population-related employment land, and that's your commercial land. So there is an excess of commercial lands in the town of Essex, and the forecasted population-related employment needs for the town actually for the next 25 years is 7.6 hectares. So we have 13.2 hectares, so there is still an excess of commercial lands. And that's applying the high forecast. So it's our position that this development will not result in the loss of any viable commercial space. There were questions regarding tax implications. So the prediction is that the addition of 5 more dwelling units for a total of 9 will result in the tax rate being in the multi-residential category for this area with the residential units only. There was comments about the elimination of 1 dwelling unit and whether that will improve the amenity space and parking space requirements. And our response is that the removal of a dwelling unit will not improve the parking and amenity space requirements because the building is existing. There is no on-site parking as existing for the four units. There is, however, access to the Chrysler Canada Greenway, sidewalk, Sadler's Pond, and Heritage Park within the vicinity of these lands that could serve as amenity area space, and there is available parking on Medora Avenue. And then lastly, there was questions regarding cash in lieu of amenity space or donation to our tree program. And we don't actually have a policy in our official plan that would allow us to ask for cash in lieu of parklands or cash in lieu of parking. The applicants will be required, though, to pay development charges at the time of the building permit. And as part of that development charge, it does include costs for outdoor and indoor recreation services. So all in all, administration continues to recommend approval of the 5 dwelling units with no on-site parking and no amenity space on the ground level of the mixed-use building. The bylaw number 2373 was provisionally adopted on September 23rd, so it was given 2 readings. And as a result, there have been no changes to that bylaw. So in terms of next step, if council determines that they are comfortable with the recommendation, then they may choose to approve the bylaw, and we will serve notice of that approval on the applicant and anyone who made written or oral comments on the application. And the applicant will have the opportunity to appeal your decision within 20 days of that notice. Council can decide to deny the proposed bylaw amendments with reason. And similarly, we will send notice to the applicant and they will have the ability to appeal, or council can continue to defer the decision on the bylaw if they feel that further information is required. Thank you.
I don't have any problems really. I'm concerned about the parking, of course. Apparently there's no parking available for the original 4 units. So he wants to make 5 units and we have to agree to let him do it on the ground floor. You know, ground floor apartments, they're perfect for seniors, and I'd like to see us request some affordable or attainable housing, particularly so that the seniors in our area are is available to them. And I think we have a good case to ask for these, because the sacrifices that our taxpayers are making to accommodate these requests, I think it's only responsible for us to ask for something in return.
Ms. Mayor. So by virtue of this development, it's in an older building. It's the repurposing of commercial space on the ground floor. These are going to be affordable and attainable rental dwelling units.
Questions or comments, Councillor? Let me get the motion on the table and then if we, okay, Councillor Verbeek? Okay, Councillor Verbeek is moving that zoning bylaw amendment for 127 Talbot Street North. The planning report be received in that bylaw 2373 be received and read a 3rd time and finally passed on October 21st. Moved by Councillor Verbeek, supported by Councillor McGuire-Blaise. Any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Operations 2024-10, result of request for tender for road salt hauling. That operations report be received and that council award the request for tender for road salt hauling to Quinlan Incorporated for a contract period November 1st, 2024 to April 30th, 2025, with an option to extend 2 years. And that council permit the treasurer to fund any expenditure in relation to the salt hauling contract from the winter control reserve. Needing a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Verbeek, supported by Councillor Mady. And I just have one question to Director Gerard. A lot of times we hear if there's a light winter, just use that money in the budget for something else. Can you just explain to us, please, and for members of the public, what the winter control reserve is, please?
Yeah, through the chair. So that budget center is actually kind of self-sustaining. So anytime that the monies are unused within that budget center, so if we have a light winter, those monies all get put into the winter control reserve to save up for those years where we might have a very heavy winter, to allow us to access those additional funds. So yeah, it's a self-sustaining budget that where all those savings and those deficits are all funneled through that reserve.
I think sometimes when we don't have a lot of snow, people expect like a lower tax increase or lower taxes the next year, which isn't always true because we keep that money in there for the hard years. Okay, do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Okay, any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Operations 2024-11, results of request for tender for winter control agreement for truck, salter, plow, and wing rental. That operations report be received and that council award the request for tender winter control to Ontario Limited Colchester Farms, and that council permit the treasurer to fund any expenditure in relation to the salt hauling contract from the winter control reserves. Need a mover and a seconder for this, and if there's any questions. Moved by Councillor Hammond, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? Councillor McGuire-Blaise.
Thank you through the chair. For both this one and the last one, You gave an approximate budget, so this one's 50,322. If we have a light year and we don't use it, that 50,000 gets put into a reserve. We don't pay that to, are we paying that to the company even though we may not use them the amount of hours that we're guessing?
Chair, the $50,000 is what we budget for annually, but we only pay the contractor by the hour and we pay the other contractor for the salt hauling by the ton. So we only pay for what we use. We don't pay a flat rate.
Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to community services, special events notice, Harrow Legion Remembrance Day Parade, needing a mover and a seconder that the community services report be received and that council approve closing McAfee Street from 37 McAfee Street to King Street and from 21 King Street East to Victoria Street between 10:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. for the Harrow Legion Branch 338 Remembrance Day ceremony. Moved by Councillor Allard, supported by Councillor Maney. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Community Services 2024-41 Special Events Resource Team for October. Looking for a mover and a seconder that this report be received. Moved by Councillor Verbeek, supported by Councillor McGuire Blaze. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. We do have one regret from one of our youth members today, but we do have one here. Youth member Cole Foster, do you have anything to say?
Report this week. Thank you.
Hi to your dad from me. I guess I know him. The small world. County Council update, that the County Council regular meetings be received, and we'll go to our Deputy Mayor for a County Council report.
In our early October meeting, we had Windsor Symphony Orchestra, Music Director Robert Franz, and Board Chair Deborah Severance presented an update on the state of the symphony. The traffic review of County Road 42, Council supported Lakeshore's request for a traffic review of County Road 42 at the Reno line, including an accident data and recommendations. Traffic signals on County Road 20, Council directed administration to design and estimate costs for traffic signals on County Road 20 in LaSalle following increased traffic and plan development. Our official plan review, Council is reviewing the final draft of the county's official plan with input from the Ministry of Affairs to ensure the Council with the 2024 provincial policy statement. And cost sharing and land purchase, Council approved a cost sharing agreement for stormwater management into Council and authorized the purchase of land along County Road 22. And that's my County Council report.
I have a few things further to report. Today, the Deputy Mayor and I met with the County CAO to discuss a large fill dumping, and the County CAO is going to research that and see what other jurisdictions do and raise it at the next CAO meeting. That is in regards to the large fill places that we have, like 5080 Walker Road. We also I asked for more data on healthcare when it comes to unattached patients, so we can get a picture of the county and what it looks like in terms of Essex, Lakeshore, Tecumseh, all the different municipalities, and see how many people in each municipality do not have access to doctors, because I've been told that the Harrow Health Center waitlist is 600. So I'm waiting to see, where we need to advocate as a county council to get more doctors, more healthcare here. I've also been advocating for a county collective email so that residents can reach out to county council with one email. I haven't had success in that 2 years yet, but working on that, just like we have council members at essex.ca looking for a distribution list for county councilors so that people can email county councilors all in once rather than looking up 14 emails. So stay tuned on that one. I also talked to county council about pushing drinking and driving, and we've been talking about that as well. At the last police service board meeting, we learned that drinking and driving is up 90% in our area. So trying to get more messaging out there. We also talked about the county budget and staffing levels at the county to ensure that there's not a lot of staff positions coming. And we talked about how we can raise concerns about intersections in our municipality and get the county to address them. The county has like 400 plus or 380 intersections. So we sit here and we may think that we have a problem intersection, that's the county's. but they really have to triage it with the greater system. So stay tuned on all those issues. Motion to receive the, I have a motion up here? Okay, motion to receive the county council report. Councilor McGuire Blaze, Councilor Allard, any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Correspondence, looking for a motion to receive all the correspondence, and then if any members of council wish to pull out correspondence, please let us know. Move that all the correspondence listed in 13.1 be received. Councilor McGuire Blaze, Councilor Verbeek, all in favor? That's carried. Is there any particular correspondence that Councilor Verbeek and then Deputy Mayor Shepley?
Through you, Madam Mayor, would you like me to go one at a time? I have two. Okay. So 13.1.1 from Brantford West. Their correspondence is asking for support in their letter to the government about the Ontario Deposit Return Program. Happy to discuss it if anyone on council wants. I mean, we all got the same letter.
That's a motion to support, receive
To
and
support, to send a letter of support to
Okay.
encourage.
supported by the deputy mayor. I think he was eyeing that.
Yeah.
He was eyeing that one up too. So what that is asking the province to put a deposit return on pop cans again, which I think is a great idea because if there was a return on them, there'd probably be less in the ditch. Any questions? All in favor? Where do you want it to go? To our list? No, our list? Yeah, our list. Okay, Councilor Verbeek, which next one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 13.1.3, the town of Plymouth, Wyoming is asking for letters of support in the request to both levels of government, all levels of government, to try and take action to solve the humanitarian crisis with growing problems with addiction, homelessness, mental health. I think I mean, I could discuss it more, but we all got the same correspondence. I'm asking that we just support this and move it forward to upper levels of government.
Verbeek seeking a seconder. Deputy Mayor Shepley, any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Any other pieces of correspondence? I do also want to point out 13.1.4, the Windsor Essex Community Housing Corporation did respond back to the motion from Councilor McGuire Blaze in terms of requesting a security camera and security cameras or security, actually it was security at Bryan Street, at Maplewood Apartments. So because of that, the Windsor Essex Community Housing Corporation wrote back saying they take the safety of its tenants, staff, and community seriously. In response of your letter, September 27th, 2024, CHC has confirmed that all cameras at 109 Bryan and 111 are in working order. Furthermore, CHC's board at its regular meeting on October 3rd directed CHC administration to prepare a safety and security audit plan for all CHC properties based on a priority scale, including the severity of safety incidents. So that's good news and more to come on that. And what they're going to do is they have multiple housing units. They're going to do an audit of all of them, look at their cameras, their buzzers, trim trees. Maybe there's broken windows, graffiti. Maybe, we need to look at in the budget, hiring rotating security. So we got them thinking about it. So that was a really good motion. Thank you, Council. Okay, anything else? 13.2.1, OPP Attachment Board, 2025 at-large community representative. That correspondence from the municipality of Lakeshore appointing Ed Hooker to the Essex County OPP Attachment Board 1 as the municipality of Lakeshore's at-large community representative for 2025 calendar year to be received and supported. Looking for a mover and a seconder to receive and support, or just receive and support. Councilor McGuire Blaze, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. And just a note on our OPP boards, we have started meeting again in person. We did meet a week ago. That's where we talked about there was a large increase in drinking and driving. The cool thing about meeting in Tecumseh now is our OPP boards are live streamed. So if you go on the town of Tecumseh's website, you can go back to the police service board and you can watch the police service board meetings. So that's something new. CAO suite.
Mayor Bondi, you can also go to the Town of Essex website. We do have a police service board. We have those same links. So we are sharing that as well.
All in favor? Oppose? And that's carried. Do you want that noted, Councillor Hammond? Yes? No? Okay. I'm doing that because when the clerks rewatch, they can write it down easier. I'm catching on. Committee meeting minutes. Committee meeting minutes listed in agenda item 14 be received, approved, and adopted as circulated. We have the Committee of Adjustment and the Santas Village. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Guerin, Councillor McGuire Blaze, all in favor? That's carried. Operating variance as of July 31st, 2024. Looking for a motion that the operating variance be received for information. Councillor McGuire Blaze, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Any new business tonight? Okay, notices of motion. I will pass this to our Deputy Mayor. Read Councillor Verbeek's first.
Mayor Bondi, through you, the following notice of motion is being brought forward this evening for presentment only. Moved by Councillor Verbeek that council direct administration to work with Isler Lodge to have a concrete pad installed at the Isler Lodge on which a bench can be installed by the lodge with up to $2,000 in cost for the concrete pad to be paid out of the 2024 council contingency fund. The following notices of motion were presented at the October 7, 2024 regular council meeting and are being brought forward this evening for council's consideration. The first notice of motion being brought forward by Mayor Bondi is that Town of Essex Council direct administration to complete a second phase of the official plan project prior to its adoption, which will include a local comprehensive review to inform the new Town of Essex official plan. Administration and council use the information gained from the LCR to determine the opportunities and constraints associated with Town of Essex land use designations, particularly primary and secondary settlement areas, the appropriateness of the current settlement areas to accommodate the forthcoming growth, including the consideration of constraints that will inhibit the available settlement areas, and whether or not settlement areas need to be reallocated to more appropriate locations to meet growth demands. That administration and council take into consideration results from various infrastructure servicing studies and the cost for current residents in particular, and also future residents to expand on infrastructure that currently does not exist. That council direct administration to include funding in the 2025 budget for phase 2 of the official plan project. And that administration take into consideration the County of Essex's upcoming specialty crop study on the quality of farmland identified as that will require the highest level of protection for these valuable agricultural lands. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councillor Beatty, and I'll move to Director Chadwick for comment.
Deputy Mayor. So here we are. It's October. It's almost the end of October. The summer flew by. We had such a great 2-month consultation period for the draft new official plan. It was very evident that we recognized that residents, property owners, and businesses were engaged, were curious, were seeking additional information, expressed concerns, and gave us some really valuable input. To date, we have received hundreds of public comments that warranted a pivot of this crucial project. We have spoken with our planning consultant, my planning team, and the county planner about an idea to complete various additional tasks prior to bringing forward a draft official plan to council for adoption. Essentially, we felt that we needed to hit the brakes, take some time, take as much time as needed before we had a complete document that the public really had a huge say and could shape. So administration is fully in support of Mayor Bondi's notice of motion tonight to proceed with phase 2 of the official plan project. We will include
a proposed capital budget item in the 2025 budget for council's decision-making. Just as a friendly reminder, WSP Canada has been procured and retained by the town to complete this project. So there would be some not only staff resources, but also additional financial resources required as a part of this phase 2. As a part of the phase 1 of the OP project, we had originally planned to provide town council with a special meeting to provide you with copies of all correspondence received on the draft new OP, as well as a comment matrix to help summarize the comments and the common themes. However, again, because we felt it was very important to pivot, we will be hosting a presentation style information meeting or an open house, something similar, to summarize to the public what we've heard, what we will be revisiting, clarifying any questions that were posed, and informing folks of what's to come in terms of this phase 2 of the project. As we continue to sort through the hundreds and hundreds of comments that we've received, it's very difficult to determine when this, what we'll call 4th public information session, will be held. We will be sure, however, to provide ample public notice, send direct mail out, direct emails, book a very large space for the meeting, and we will also bring forward the same presentation to council, so you have that information at your fingertips as well. Thank you, Mayor Bondi and Deputy Mayor.
At this time, I'd like to allow our delegations to speak. Nettie Ridley and Mike Pichet, if you want to make your way back to the podium. You have 10 minutes, Natalie, when you're ready.
Good, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Bondi and testing. Are we good? Okay, good evening, Mayor Bondi and Deputy Mayor Shepley and Council. My name is Nettie Ridley. I am here with my husband, Mike Pichet. We're 25-year Colchester residents. We represent a small grassroots group called Colchester Matters, whose mandate is to inform and educate residents as to current changes planned for Colchester, and hopefully in the process ensure that these changes are made with the best interest of residents, current and future, as well as the town of Essex. Please note, we are not against growth, provided that growth and development are planned responsibly. With respect, we understand we're not planners. As residents and taxpayers, however, we do hope for thoughtful, considerate approach for land use. We appreciate the opportunity to share our viewpoint with the town of Essex. Sometimes we'll hear a, no, that's not possible. But conversely, we also will hear that our concerns and our suggestions will be taken into consideration. And that motivates us to continue to speak out, which is what we share with our residents. Please share. Whether you're for, whether you're against, share. Be engaged. Tonight, we speak on behalf of many residents who support Mayor Bondi's notice of motion to complete a second phase of the 2024 official plan project. An official plan, we're told, is the document that determines how the municipality moves ahead and how we use our land. The notice of motion includes that a local comprehensive review be performed. An LCR is basically an inventory of land to include current land use, determination of our settlement areas support future growth, how future growth will impact our land, how best to utilize and maximize our lands, where residential growth should and should not be directed, where we should direct and maintain agricultural uses, which is critical, how and where we might best direct agritourism opportunities, and of major importance is a review of our land from an environmental perspective. Climate change is part of our lives. It's real, and it's time we stopped paying lip service to plans to mitigate damage to our planet. Protection and increase of our green space is critical to that end. We need to educate our residents as to why this is important, what we're losing, and how we're losing it. Our flood of 2023 comes to mind, with dire prediction from Environment Canada that our 1 in 100 year storm is now a 1 in 20, and that the 1 in 20 is now 1 in 5. Unfortunately, our housing push will further create issues which impact our climate. Removal of green space and trees, housing builds, new roads and sidewalks, all necessary with our current methods of build. However, there is an impact. Note, production of 1 kilogram of concrete puts 1 kilogram of CO2 into the atmosphere. Construction and demolition waste creates up to 1/3 of the world's overall waste, creating major CO2 emissions. With all of our planned building, where is this construction waste going? Has a study been done on that aspect of our housing intensification? Have we reviewed costs to our climate in our push for more housing? If our official plan is to include all considerations for future growth and development, it must also include these points. Since an official plan is our land use document, we can't understand how a municipality can effectively write a long-term official plan without first initiating a local comprehensive review.
Good evening, Mayor Bondi, Deputy Mayor Shepley, and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I want to continue Nettie's presentation. Mayor Bondi's notice of motion also includes consideration for the County of Essex upcoming specialty crop study. Specialty crops include fruit and vegetables requiring specific growing conditions. Think grapes, think apples. Massive growth in that specialty crop area in the last few years. Essex County is home to some of the best and healthiest agricultural soil in Canada and Ontario, and combined with preferred climatic conditions to further support agriculture, including a large number of acres of specialty crops in the Colchester area in particular. We must respect and protect these lands. Once we've rezoned them residential and built upon them, they are lost, and once lost, not so easily, if ever, recoverable. As to further growth and intensification, we've recently learned that we cannot blame Bill 23 for the current push for housing intensification by the town of Essex. The province has not imposed growth requirements on the town of Essex, which is not even on the province's housing target tracker for municipalities. That said, we do realize that our town is guided by the 2024 provincial planning statement and Bills 23 and 185, and that our town may set its own growth targets. However, residents should not be advised that the province and Bills 23 and 185 are directly responsible for the current housing intensification plans. These are plans of our own making. Closer to home, we see an opportunity to review Chapter 9, the Colchester Secondary Plan. There are many points in this plan requiring forethought, lest Colchester be further stripped of green space, overdeveloped, densified, a new word, beyond recognition, and turned into what? Grand Bend? Hear this. Our residents do not want to be exploited due to the fact that we live near Lakeshore. A second phase becomes an opportunity for us to seek an alternate plan for our village, one which involves serious review of changes since the 2009 official plan was created. We need to see plans for Colchester which seriously consider current climate issues and other changes which have already taken place in our community. Since 2009, visitors have discovered Colchester. Our beach, our park, and its influx of visitors on the weekend, our marina with a waiting list, our busy wineries, and the Grove Motel were not part of our lives when our current plan from 2009 was created. To move forward responsibly, we must view Colchester as it sits in 2024, especially with the advent of major housing developments being considered. Approving this notice of motion equates to the postponement of the first phase of our official plan draft, 2024. And rather than view that as negative, we see it as a positive, an opportunity to enhance and improve the official plan. The plan of which to be proud, which treats our residents respectfully and pays more heed than ever to our climate emergency. In conclusion, as to Mayor Bondi's motion, this is not a question of should we approve this. More, the question is, how can we not approve this? On behalf of Colchester Matters and Nettie and myself, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Presentation. Moving on to, is there any comments? Would you like to make a comment, Mayor Bondi, since it's your motion? Councillor Hammond.
Yeah, still up there, Mike. I got a question for you. You took the time to meet with me and hear my visions of Colchester. I explained to you that I've been a positive promoter of Colchester for 50 years. I might be partly responsible for Colchester being discovered because I pushed very hard through with administration, and we are now starting to get considered for development, which I've always been pushing for. But I shared with you my views of how I viewed Colchester in the future when I'm gone. And I asked you the same, how you viewed it. You didn't really have an answer at the time. I was wondering if you'd had given that any more thought. Your view. Have you thought about what you think Colchester should be 20, 25 years down the road, how you vision it after you're gone, probably?
Through the chair, we understand that growth will happen. It will be developed. What we're asking for is the town to live by the official plan of the county, which says in 4A32 that secondary areas are not to be overdeveloped to the degree that is being considered at this point in time. Development is fine. Infill is fine. Do what has to be done from that perspective, but obey the rules. The rules are crystal clear in the official plan of the County of Essex, which has been approved by the county council and has been forwarded to the province for approval.
To you, Richard. Having said that, Colchester was a primary hamlet at one time, and as Harrow is now, Harrow is currently and still going through the process that Colchester did 50 years ago. We're losing anemones. We're on the process of losing the soccer field that doesn't get used by the kids anymore because there aren't any to use it. And our arena is basically a practice facility. It houses heirs and has a health club in it. But as far as generating income for the use of that building, it's dwindling considerably. Whether we cut back the hours of running the compressor or debunk the arena altogether, that's another anemone that we're looking at losing. These are the things I'm trying to preserve, and these are the things that intensification is going to help keep. And I would like to see Colchester come to the vital community it once was, not what it has turned into. So again, where's the future of not only Colchester, but Harrow in the future, if it continues on this path?
Director Chadwick, you had some comments?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So just for clarification, the work that we completed as a part of phase 1 of the official plan project to date has included and incorporated something called a comprehensive review. This was based on the review of the population, the housing, and the employment growth forecast prepared by the county. We worked hand in hand with the county all along the way. That comprehensive review ensured that the town's new official plan would be consistent with the county's official plan in terms of a comprehensive review, again, for population, housing, employment lands. In our background review, we also referred to the county's studies and background reports, and we used the county's designations of primary and secondary settlement areas. Yes, a local comprehensive review will allow us to review the appropriateness of current settlement areas to accommodate future and forthcoming growth, and also will allow us to consider those constraints in terms of servicing and natural heritage, wetlands, et cetera. So we would be able to review those settlement area patterns in greater detail, in greater, essentially with a zoom lens through a local comprehensive review. But just to clarify, the county and the town have been working hand in hand on our official plan. Something else I'd like to clarify is that the county's forecasts inform the town's primary and secondary settlement areas. The province does not differentiate between primary and secondary settlement areas. It's important for council to know that the province refers to a settlement area is a settlement area. And so what we would like to do in phase 2 of the official plan project is take the new PPS, which is the provincial planning statement, and consider what we call not primary settlement areas, but strategic growth areas. And looking at this concept of a strategic growth area as opposed to calling something a secondary settlement area, which is not in line with provincial planning. And so it could help us identify those strategic growth areas and help us to kind of intensify, look at employment lands, and look at that growth for those strategic growth areas. This is going to take a lot of time. This new official plan will help us set that tone for those strategic growth areas, really to set the policies and set that tone for that. So I'm not here to debate one way or the other when it comes to intensification and what Bill 23 said or what Bill 23 didn't say. If you as a council would like us to proceed with bringing back any reports, that we have brought several to council on Bill 23, we would be happy to do so.
I have Councillor McGuire, please.
Thank you through the chair. Thanks for coming to speak to both of you. Appreciate your feedback. We have all received the emails from pro and cons for the plan. I do think that we should take into consideration what people are saying. We've received a lot of feedback, so I think we do need to do the local comprehensive review. My question is, what are our timelines looking like? How fast does this need to be done? Is there a timeline put on us to do this? Because I don't want to rush it, but if there is a timeline, then what does that look like? And then it asks that we include funding in the 2025 budget for phase 2 of the official plan project. What does that look like? Is it something, do we have like an estimated cost of what that's going to be? Is it going to be something that we can negotiate when it comes time to budget? Or if we say yes to this today or in the next couple of council meetings, is that something that's just going to go forward and we're stuck with that cost, not knowing what it might be? Thank you.
Mayor, so 2 questions, if I'm not mistaken, related to timing and funding. So I'll tackle the question on timing. So the county's new official plan identifies a policy where the lower tier municipalities that report into the county would require to be consistent with their new official plans, make amendments, pass new official plans within 1 year. We see that this could be our time frame in speaking with the county planner, we're all aware, we're all on the same page that we need to hit the brakes on this project. I don't want to speak for the county planner to say that there could be wiggle room, but at a minimum, we would say about a year. Of course, that would include reviewing of the various servicing studies that we currently have in place, potentially preparing new servicing studies if required. So there could be a requirement to extend that period. And I suspect with the proper consultation with the county planner that Ms. Belanger could be amenable to that. Again, it's that ongoing project. So I don't see that, if that 1 year passes, that there could be some sort of repercussion. I don't think so. So generally 1 year, if that answers your question. In terms of a work plan for phase 2, I can't determine at this time if 1 year is going to be enough because the consultant has not provided us a scope of what phase 2 would look like. We need to identify what tasks need to be completed and how long each task will take. And of course, in collaboration with my fellow team members, specifically Director of Infrastructure, Kevin Gerard. So we need to ensure that we all have, certain tasks that we're doing, and how long it's going to take each one is unknown at this time. What we hope to have is in time for council's deliberation for budget purposes, not only the budget for phase 2, but theoretically we would have an idea of what that timeline could look like, because the timeline then results in a proposed budget item and how much that could cost us. So I will pass it to Director Jurusevich if required to help you with the question of, are you tied to? I believe the answer is it would be up to council's decision at budget deliberations. To do it in-house, I will tell you it would take triple the amount of time and effort than it would be. We also highly, highly recommend continuing with this consultant who is the expert in this field, and especially since they've completed phase 1. Yeah. And maybe Director Jurusevich could identify funding model because we have some good news to share on that.
Thank you, through the chair. So we're still working through what the proposed 2025 budget looks like at this point. Included in some recent legislation is the fact that our development charge reserve can fund these types of studies. Not in entirety, but a portion of it. So that'll be presented for council's consideration. But essentially no work would start until the budget's formally approved and council endorses the amount.
Thanks for the information. Let's say this comes into budget and it's astronomical, and the council says, you know what, this isn't in our budget for this year. What happens at that point? Does it then get pushed until 20? Like, can we push it? Or that's what I'm saying. Like, we're stuck to a year, so we can say no, but we can't really say no because we're stuck to only a year. So no matter what it comes back at, we have to say yes because we have a year. That's where I was trying to go with this. Like, we don't really have a choice. If we say yes to this, we are kind of stuck with this is in our budget and we have to pay it, but we have no idea what the cost might be.
Deputy Mayor, to your point, Councillor McGuire-Blaise, phase 1 has been an immense amount of work. The draft official plan is in good shape. It's not to say that a phase 2 could be so time consuming. And when I say that it could take triple, this is just, currently, this is how my sentiment. The work that's been done to date is immense. The amount of work that has been done to date, and is a really great foundation for us to take us into phase 2. There are existing servicing studies, financial plans as a part of a DC background study as well. There is an exorbitant amount of work that's already been completed. I don't foresee that it's going to take years upon years. With the consultant, it would take a lot faster, and it would have the right parties and the right people in the room to assist with that. As far as whether, council, if you want to delay, we can certainly delay. You already have an official plan. Everyone already knows that we have an official plan. I could take back that question to the county planner to say what happens within a year if we don't meet that time frame. I believe there is that flexibility because Ms. Boulanger is aware that we are ongoing with our draft official plan and have for, you know, a big chunk of the new official plan, we are consistent with the county.
Sweet.
Deputy Mayor, and just to add on to Director Chadwick to address Councilor McGuire Blaze. So our next step will be get that scope and to get a cost from the consultant. Once we get that, we'll have a better idea. If it's what we find maybe too high, we're going to come back with some options, right? So I think your question is it all or none? Once we see that, we will come back with options. Okay, because of this, you can do A, B, or C. So we will provide that to council for sure, that it won't just be one or two answers.
Lawyer Blaze.
Through the chair, just to quickly follow up. So is this something that we, if our council is agreeing on it, is this something that we should be saying, yes, we want to do, like, should we pass this now, or should we be waiting until we have those numbers on what it's going to cost and what our timeline is going to look like? Like, I'm just concerned saying yes to this now with no other information on timelines or costs. We will just put ourselves into like a corner and we won't be able to say yes or no.
Your Deputy Chair, my understanding, and Mayor Bonnie correct me, but reading this motion where it says direct administration including funding in 2025 budget, is not confirming that funding. It's like other projects, is to be in a budget for future deliberations.
Councilor Verbeek.
Mr. Chair, Deputy Mayor, I think we've covered everything through the discussion. I guess I'd like to thank the delegates. I see a lot of what I used to do, advocating for your community and the people in your community and stepping forth and speaking up. And I want to thank the mayor for bringing this forward. I supported 100%. I did have my concerns, and I do recognize the immense amount of work that has gone into this plan so far. But entering a second phase, to me, certainly seems like the right thing to do. And I loved your looking at strategic growth areas as opposed to just these are settlement areas, so let's funk all of the development here. So I'm going to support it when the time comes.
Councilor Mady, please.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. First, I want to say thank you for coming and speaking. I hope you heard the hundreds of replies that came back. Your voices are being heard. They're taking them into consideration. Your grassroots, your activism is definitely helped shaping the community. Please stay engaged. Please stay invigorated. That's great. I was really happy to hear about the strategic growth options. You know, I think Colchester has made a little bit of a change. There was the dance halls and the casinos of the past, but unfortunately that brought a whole bunch of transient people, you know, drunken fights on the streets, broken down trailer parks. Through the last few years of the agritourism, we've really been able to clean that up. And now we have an award-winning beach that's winning awards every year. We have one of the best parks that are out there. We have a vibrant community of people walking up and down the highway, going to the fruit stands. When you brought up apples and grapes, I mean, cherries, peaches, as climate change is happening, regions that are growing peaches right now are becoming too hot and unsuitable to grow peaches. Our region's becoming perfect to grow peaches. We had Windsor Essex in talking about AI and how that's going to help and how we're going to be able to better weather forecast and grow these industries, which is just amazing for our area. So yeah, as we're doing the second round in this LCR, things like that are definitely going to need to be thought about and considered. I think this is a great notice of motion, and the fact that it's brought out a crowd like this for it really speaks to the amount of enthusiasm that's behind it. So thank you very much for bringing it forward. Yeah, I don't really have much of a question. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can appreciate for sure the residents' feedback and their concerns. I can also appreciate Mayor Bondi's motion. But I am going to go talk to a couple of points that Councilor McGuire Blaze had. And I have some similar fears. A couple of things is we've had meetings amongst ourselves with, and giving direction to administration of what our input from council on the official plan. We spent money on that official plan. My fear is, and I have no issue with putting a pause on things. I think we will have the time, but I have to be, I'm also concerned about the cost and time as well. And I'm also concerned about, we go through all these costs and we go through all these local comprehensive reviews or phase 2, whatever you want to call it. And we land pretty much where we're at right now. Then what do we do? Like, what if we land where we are right now and it still doesn't satisfy all parties? Then what do we do? And I mean, what, just a bracket, even like less than 10,000, greater than 50,000, maybe 100,000, anything like that would be very helpful. But my biggest concern is we go through all this, we put more time and money into it, and we end up right back to where we're at right now with maybe some slight modifications, maybe some wins for the residents here, and maybe some not so money wins, but, and then what do we do? We've wasted a year and we're back to our backs against a wall. That's my only comment I'm gonna make.
Councillor Guerin. Mayor Bondi will have the last word on this before we vote. I just wanted to point out that the enormous work that our staff's put into this so far, I didn't realize how much went into these things until being a part of it. It's been pretty amazing to see how much work you guys have to do. And to Colchester, I mean, I jokingly, I use it as the Colchester effect. If when residents come to me with an issue, I mean, be like Colchester, be engaged. You guys are really an engaged community, and it's pretty remarkable. So I'll turn it over to Mayor Bondi.
Shepley, we did have a couple open houses on the official plan, and it's a shame that because of schedules and everything, it's a shame that all of council can't make it to all of the open houses. Because if you made it to the Colchester open house and you made it to the Harrow open house, the rooms were stacked with a lot of feedback. Just to put it in perspective, the county official plan had 60 people in total. And we had, I think, 100 and 100. I don't know, maybe Director Chadwick can answer, but we had quite a few people. So people are coming out in droves. So I campaigned on smart growth and not just any growth. We can pick and choose which kind of growth we want now, and we can set the bar on where we want growth. Council did also have a visioning session on where we want to see our strategic growth. And there was a lot of consensus in the room that it makes more sense to have growth in our urban centers. For example, Harrow and Essex, Ward 1. Looking at infilling here in Ward 1, looking at potentially expanding our boundaries, which we did the Lakeshore. We just gave approval to do the Lakeshore study for capacity and extending potentially in Kingsville. It makes more sense to expand where we have schools, where we have stores, where people can walk. We're approving apartments with no parking because we can, because frankly, if you live in downtown Essex, you have basically everything you want. Maybe not enough underwear stores, but you basically have everything you want. So we want to develop where it's walkable. And I don't want to, I think that we need to know, we owe it to the residents of our town, not just Colchester, we owe it to the residents of our town to know what we're getting into when we're talking about development in Colchester. Because if we go forward with the sewage treatment plant, we're taking away all of our debt capacity for anything else, for any other projects, where our debt is right up there. And that might potentially mean no new fire station. So we have to really think about what we're doing is we would double the population of Colchester if we just approve the Colchester secondary plan as intense as it is. I talked to administration today. Our Harrow Arena does not have any issues right now with booking for ice time. Like it's full. And back in the day, the Harrow Arena operated different, but it also didn't have different groups along the side. It didn't have a community room where we rent. We are a municipality with 4 wards. So we have to make sure that we're developing where we best can develop and also where our residents want us to develop it as well. So the developers, I want to also work with developers who are currently here, like potentially Mr. Branco, who was here at the 5 o'clock meeting. We had a development roundtable. There was 4 items from that development roundtable that we brought forward. We're still waiting for closure on that loop. We have a lot of shovels already in the ground that we need to focus on that. Maybe we can work with one of the existing subdivisions and look at intensification there. We have the high school going out for tender. We're looking at intensification there. I'm also really worried about growing so fast. We don't have enough doctors in our municipality. The Harrow Health Center has a wait list of 500 to 600 people. So we're attracting people in and then we're not supporting their health care. That probably worries me over everything else. So I've also done, because the county official plan was before this and because it was kind of in sync, kind of on that parallel track thing, to me and how I read the county official plan is different than how I read our Town of Essex plan. It doesn't drive development in Colchester as much as ours does. So if our official plan is currently here for Colchester and the proposed is going to take it intensification here, who's to say we don't want to take our official plan that's here and move it this way and move out the intensification, move out the residential and put that residential in Harrow and in Essex? That's an option too, that we're not able to have those conversations. So we have done a lot of good work consulting residents. We have done a lot of good work there. But if we, and I talk to the county planner all the time, if we do some of these studies on soil, we may find out that we have the most valuable soil in Canada. And do we want to pave that? I'm not sure. So I was very frank and honest with our administration saying I would not support our official plan as long as it had the Colchester secondary plan the way it was. So another option to Councillor McGuire-Blaise and to Councillor Guerin, if we think this is taking too long, you could always try to approve the official plan. I won't, but maybe half of Colchester will show up and then we'll see how the balls roll here and see how it votes here. Or we could, if we're running out of time, we could approve our official plan minus the Colchester secondary plan. That's an option too. But I can't, with all the feedback we got, all the conversations we got, I don't know. I did not get a lot of emails pro Colchester, maybe 5, I'm not sure. Everywhere I go, I'm bombarded. When I walked into the Colchester meeting, people were pleading with me to not stab them in the back because that's what this is. And the village of Colchester has been tumultuous consistently since my time on council because they never know what's coming. So the reason for this notice of motion is because residents need to know that we're listening. And if we just waited and didn't have this conversation tonight, residents would be up in arms, not knowing what we're doing and not knowing that we've heard them. So as Councillor Mady has said, this motion allows us to take that next step, doing more studies because our residents are asking more studies of us. And and I want to say it's not a pause because it kind of is. By doing this pause and more, we're letting Colchester residents know that we've heard them and we want to do more. We want to understand more. So with that being said, Deputy Mayor, I would like a recorded vote on this, please.
I need a seconder for the recorded vote. Councillor Mady.
The mayor's requested a recorded vote. So we'll go ahead and do that. So Deputy Mayor Shepley, how do you vote? Deputy Mayor Shepley votes support. Councillor Verbeek, how do you vote?
Support.
Councillor Verbeek votes support. Councillor Allard, how do you vote? Allard votes support. Councillor McGuire-Blaise, how do you vote?
Support.
McGuire-Blaise supports. Councillor Guerin, how do you vote? Supports. Councillor Hammond, how do you vote? Opposes. Councillor Mady, how do you vote?
Support.
Supports. Mayor Bondi, how do you vote?
Support.
Mayor Bondi supports. With one opposition, the motion passes.
Yes, you're excused. I just need sorry, you could have sat down that whole time. Sorry. A motion from council to receive the delegation from Nettie Ridley and Mike Pichet. Councillor Allard, Councillor Verbeek, any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. You can. We're almost done. Director Malandruclo.
The second notice of motion on today's agenda for council's consideration is moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, that council direct administration to review the feasibility and cost of adding a controlled pedestrian crossing over County Road 13, Erie Street South at Wellington Street in Harrow.
Counselor Meady. Deputy Mayor Shepley, would you like to speak to it?
I can't take credit for this one. It was brought to my attention by a Colchester resident, actually, and they noticed that there was a lot of children at the corners trying to cross from that subdivision on the, I would say, the west side, and there was no controlled crossing for them. The closest for anybody else is up at King Street at Highway 20 there, and putting it down here on Wellington allows them to at least make the choice to traverse up to the top one or down to that one. At least we're doing something to protect the safety of those kids that are crossing the road. So I'm hoping that we get a good report back that we can support.
I gotta admit, I'm a little ashamed, as I'm sure Mayor Bondi is, that we hadn't proposed this prior, because it stands right out there, and I'm glad that the deputy mayor has brought it forward, and I will certainly endorse it.
Deputy Mayor's earning his money tonight. I am definitely ashamed. It is a really good motion. It's really, my children will appreciate it. Any other comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Reports and announcements from council members. Councillor Garrett, and then we'll just go that way all the way around.
Yes, I just want to put out there to the Harrow residents that I personally am not responsible for the shrubs, the overgrown shrubs being taken down in front of the cenotaph. That apparently was something in progress back in 22 before COVID. So this just now getting up to it. Please keep in mind that the whole object of the cenotaph is to be there to be seen, so that we can honor our veterans that have paid the ultimate price and those that came back broken. If it's the stray cat that you're more concerned about, then by all means, take it in and let it live properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to you, Mayor Bondi. I just wanted to say that I'm going to start off the long lead time on this. Live theater is coming back to Colchester again. It's going to be a pretty awesome show. You guys better buy your tickets early on this one. I got a feeling it's going to sell out really, really quick. It's Scrooged. It's going to be a great show. Again, I'll have time to announce this one a couple more times because it's pretty amazing.
Bonnie, tonight, I was planning on doing this at our last meeting. I didn't get the opportunity to. I had to leave early. I'd like to, Glenn Mills is a resident of Essex, and he was inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame in Windsor the beginning of October, along with the Ravens team acknowledged. And I just want to, just some brief stats that I had from, I went to school with Wayne, or with Glenn, and watched his passion for the sport grow and his dedication over the years. I personally witnessed it. But they had 600 players go to the university in Canada, 400 playing in the CJFL, approximately 50 went on to NCAA scholarships, 27 CFL players, 3 NFL players, one of which a few of us went to school with. And they've played in 15 provincial championships, and they've won 11 of them. And I just want to take the time to acknowledge their team and all their efforts and commend them on all his hard work to date. Thank you.
One thing, the Rail Expo is coming to the Transportation Museum on the 26th and the 27th. Always fun to go out there and see the little trains, always great for kids.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just want to remind everybody that Halloween is coming up. So Halloween night, just make sure you're watching out for those kiddos and drive nice and safe and slow. The Essex BIA is hosting their Tiny Tot Parade the last Friday of the month. So bring your little ones out for that. And I believe there is an Optimus event as well the next day. So this coming Saturday. So Friday there's the Tiny Tot Parade, and then Sunday there is the Optimus Halloween parade or candy grab, if you will. So make sure you bring your kids out to that. It's fun times.
On November 2nd at the Harrow Soccer Complex, there is a walk in honor of Carly Hunter in Madison. Hiatus House is actually organizing it, and we're raising money to name a room at one of their new builds after her and her children. So if you want to donate, you can go to the Hiatus House website. And if you want to come out and volunteer, let me know. And I hope to see you all there. So moving on to our bylaws. Bylaw 2388 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the October 7th regular council meeting. That bylaw 2388 be read a third and finally passed on October 21st. Needing a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hammond and Deputy Mayor Shepley, all in favor. And that is carried. Bylaws requiring a first and second reading. Bylaw 2390 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the October 21st regular council meeting. That bylaw 2390 be read a first, second time, and provisionally passed today. Moved by Councillor Allard, Councillor Verbeek. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Mady. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Have a good evening and thank you for joining us.